California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves another jam-packed show with private talk about the world of Southern California sports, such as the LA Rams getting their Super Bowl rings. What do they look like, and will the Rams be able to get another one? It'll be tough, but hey, the Rams have the personnel to do so. And how about LAFC knocking off Nashville on the road? Huge win for LAFC as they're back in first place in the Western Conference. Can they keep it up, and can they stave off Austin? And the Galaxy are heading in the wrong direction as they just lost to Colorado. Is it time to hit the panic button on the Galaxy, as this could look like a repeat of last year? Also, the Dodgers are proven over with when it comes to the MLB All-Star break, as they have hit the ground running against the San Francisco Giants, as they won last night, 9-6. Will they be able to take the next games? All of that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, beautiful Friday evening, beautiful Friday morning, wherever you are listening from. Thank you for joining me for another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, episode 97. Without any further delay, let's get on into that Southern California sports goodness. But first and foremost, we have a word from our sponsor. iSports Radio is proud to call the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team the official sponsor of iSports Radio. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organization. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to trout for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. Their Twitter is at SoCal Warriors, their Instagram is at Southern California _Warriors, and their Facebook is Southern California and then Warriors. iSports Radio, the platform we are on, is available on Twitter at iSports Radio, as well as Instagram at iSports Radio. We even have TikTok, which is at iSports Radio, and we are on Facebook, which most people don't really use, but if you do use it, we are on there at iSports Radio. Just type in iSports Radio in the search bar. Also, iSports Radio has a website, www.isportsradio.com. And when you go there, you'll see a Patreon link at the top, starting off at $5 a month. This will get you a shout-out from all 28 of our shows, and higher tiers include iSports Radio merchandise, access to IESRU, the podcasting university of iSports Radio, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment, with Larry B. Because for the past 8 years and counting, iSports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've been continuing to be by the fans and for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next biggest step. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Big shout out to our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised Apparel, Marcus Losgreat, Key to the Gate, and a donor that is anonymous. Also, a shout out to Justin Ekstrom, who is still iSports Radio's Fan of the Month. He is a Minnesota Vikings fan hailing from the Great Lakes of Minnesota. His Twitter is @thesportscrib21, and he's also a good friend and affiliate of Vince Wright, the sports governor. Shout out to X-Squad affiliates real quick. Anyway, without any further delay, now let's get into that Southern California sports action as we have John Felipe, a.k.a. Carolina Cast, in the chat room. He says, have a great show, brother. Hey, I appreciate it. Definitely do check out the Carolina Cast with John Felipe. His show goes on 1 hour before SoCal Supreme Sports Show does. It does an excellent job talking about the Carolina Panthers, the Charlotte Hornets, the Carolina Hurricanes, and all things Carolina sports. He really does. And his theme is quite catchy as well. It just makes you want to dance. Anyway, let's jump on into some SoCal action. So we'll start off with the MLB because the All-Star game was what recently happened. And the All-Star break was also what happened. It's now in everyone's rearview mirror as everyone has hit the ground running and is back to playing some baseball. So this took place at the Chavez Ravine, as basically, aka Dodgers Stadium, as this was kind of a game. I didn't really watch the game, as well. For me, All-Star games don't really tickle my fancy. It's not that I don't like them. I like All-Star games. Don't get me wrong. I like All-Star games. It's just that it's kind of tough when I have other things going on, and also baseball's a little slow for my taste. Nothing against it. Again, I like All-Star games, and it's great to see some of the the best players from every team go at it against one another. So for the game, the National League started off by taking a 2-0 lead as Mookie Betts drove in an RBI and Goldschmidt drove in an RBI, as basically the National League, Paul Goldschmidt of the St. Louis Cardinals and Mookie Betts of the Los Angeles Dodgers drove in 2 runs to give the National League a 2-0 lead following the first inning. Then jumping over to the 4th inning, the top of the 4th inning, Giancarlo Stanton homered to left, and it was a 2-run homer as the American League was able to tie it. And then also Byron Buxton of the Minnesota Twins homered to left, and that gave the American League the 3-2 lead. It was basically that way, as it was basically a pitcher's duel, as the American League wound up defeating the National League by the hairs on their chinny chin chin, 3-2, as Tony Gonsolin took the loss, as he was the one that allowed all 3 runs. It's quite ironic just because Gonsolin is the pitcher for the Dodgers, and he's a pretty good pitcher as well. Unfortunately, this was not his game, but fortunately for him, it's an All-Star game. You don't take a win or a loss. You basically just take it on the chin. So hopefully that's his last bad game. Hopefully Gonsolin doesn't have any more games like that where he basically gives up the game's only runs and then basically the game is out of reach. Something I kind of didn't like, I did see a little of it, is that we mainly got to see Atlanta Braves players in the rotation. We hardly got to see some Dodgers players. We only got to see Mookie Betts, which kind of doesn't sit well with me. But it is what it is. It's an All-Star game. The Braves are the World Series champions for a reason, and I guess people wanted to see the Braves more so than Dodgers players. So yeah. So overall, it was still a fun game, and the MVP was Giancarlo Stanton, which is quite fitting. Stanton is on the Yankees, so there's that little nugget right there. Now back to the MLB. Before the All-Star break, the Dodgers had some unfinished business to attend to when it came to their opponents, as they actually, well, last time we were here, their last series was against the Angels, and it was just a 2-game series. It wasn't a 3-game series, as the Dodgers swept the Angels in the 2-game series at Angel Stadium, as they won the first game 9-1. Believe it or not, Clayton Kershaw took a perfect game into the 8th inning, and unfortunately for him, Luis Rengifo broke it up with a double, which made everybody sad, and if only Clayton Kershaw had that perfect game. If he had a perfect game, that would have been awesome, and it would have been a big slap to the face for the Angels. That's because they're doing so horrible, and to have Big Brother just slap you silly would have been even more funny. But the Angels as a whole only had 2 hits. So for the Dodgers, this was one of those games where everything just clicked the Dodgers' way. And you can't really take anything away from the Dodgers. They just had a great game plan. Kershaw was just amazing until that Rengifo hit. So I've never wanted to see the Angels lose or not get a hit so badly. And with Clayton Kershaw, it would have been great to see him get that perfect game, just because obviously he has his World Series ring, and obviously he's been through a lot. He's been through his ups and downs, and it would have been great to have him have this perfect game. Unfortunately, he did not, and he still gets the win as he moves to 7-2 on the season. He had 6 strikeouts as well, but unfortunately he does not have the perfect game as he gave up that 1 hit. The Angels' only one came from Brandon Marsh as he hit a homer to right field, which was basically the one of 2 hits for the Angels as they dropped that game 9-1. The Angels eventually lost to the Dodgers again as they lost 7-1 on Saturday, this past Saturday, as this one was over by the end of the 6th inning. The Dodgers was up 7-0. The Angels' only one came, ironically enough, from Brandon Marsh. So Brandon Marsh was kind of the standout player from the Angels-Dodgers series, which says a lot about the Angels, just because no Mike Trout. Mike Trout actually, I think he hurt his shoulder, I want to say. He had some sort of injury, which, yeah, that's not fun times for the Angels. But either way, yeah, it was upper back spasm, so it was actually his back. I was thinking it was his shoulder, but it was his back. So Mike Trout also missed the All-Star game, which was not fun. Back to the match, the Angels also, or the Dodgers also got to see Freddie Freeman hit his 1,000th career RBI, which was very nice, and the Dodgers reached 60 games, which was also quite nice. So the Dodgers are basically doing everything the Angels aren't. They're hitting the ball well, they're pitching spectacularly, even though it's still a little suspect, and they're the best team in their division, and I think they're the best team in their conference, which says a lot about the Dodgers. Yeah, they're a whopping 4 games ahead of the New York Mets, which is quite nice. So the Dodgers are basically riding high right now, and it's quite astounding. It's a nice and beautiful thing right there. So good for the Dodgers, and for the Angels, it's just another loss, as it's just one of those seasons where they're hoping the season ends. They have not looked the same ever since the 14-game losing streak, and ever since they got into that scuffle with the Seattle Mariners. But yeah, Mike pops in the chat room. He says, "I don't like the Dodgers, LOL." Well, too bad, so sad, so there, unfortunately. Sorry, Mike, but the Dodgers are basically rising to the occasion. All you could do is either get out of their way or just run and hide. So the Dodgers kicked off a 4-game series yesterday against the San Francisco Giants. They won it 9-6. However, it was quite the weird game. The Dodgers led 5-0 through 3 innings, and they actually led it all the way up until the 6th inning. And then the Giants eventually came back with 5 runs of their own. They even had a grand slam in the 7th inning, and, well, that was quite typical Dodger. That was basically typical Dodgers, unfortunately, as that was rough for the Dodgers, giving up a grand slam. And believe it or not, the one that had the grand slam was Darren Ruff. And everyone was making the pun of that must be rough for the Dodgers. So, fortunately for the Dodgers, being in typical Dodgers fashion, Trace Thompson was able to triple and eventually drive in Gavin Lux, and then eventually they got a 3-run home run from Mookie Betts, which is basically making Mookie Betts worth all that money that the Dodgers paid him. So, eventually the Dodgers won 9-6, which was quite nice, and it's good that the Dodgers finally were able to beat the Giants after getting swept the previous series. It was a 3-game series, but still. So currently the Dodgers have 3 more games against the Giants, starting tonight, as the Giants and Dodgers face one another at the Chavez Ravine tonight at 7:10, and then they play Saturday and Sunday. I should also make note that yesterday's game between the Dodgers and Giants was on ESPN, so it was nationally televised, which was quite nice. And I think it was the perfect game to nationally televise after the All-Star break. I think it was the best game to nationally televise. So, good on the Dodgers for getting that win on national TV. It would have been sad face if the Dodgers had lost, especially after giving up a grand slam and a 5-0 lead. Man. Mike Pat says, the sass is real, Teran. The sass is real. Teran is feeling feisty tonight. Yep. I mean, it's true. The Dodgers are the best team in the National League, but they're not the best team in the MLB. John says, man said you can't dodge the Dodgers. You can't dodge the Dodgers. Speaking of dodging the Dodgers, the Washington Nationals, which is in Mike's neck of the woods, come to the Chavez Ravine to take on the Dodgers on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Dodgers hit the road to the Rocky Mountains to take on Colorado, which can be a tough place to win at, but honestly, the Dodgers are riding high. They have won 5 in a row. I mentioned this last week. They beat the Cardinals 2 out of 3, which was very nice. And then they obviously swept the Angels. And then, I don't know if the Dodgers have any more games against the Angels. Did the Dodgers sweep the entire series against the Angels? I think they did. I want to say they don't play the Angels anymore, because it's one of those interleague series where the Dodgers and Angels play, but then after that, it's basically, the Dodgers and Rockies, or not the Dodgers and Rockies, the Dodgers don't play the Angels anymore this season. So the Dodgers swept the 4 games that the two teams play against one another. So, ouch, Angels. So much for trying to be the dominant team in the Freeway Series. Oof. So back to the Dodgers. Yeah, the Dodgers they could be seeing a few more wins in their future. It's just all about if the pitching staff can close out. The 3 games against the Giants are going to be very tough. I mean, the Giants aren't the Giants from last year. Like, the Giants are kind of treading in that wild card direction, as currently the Giants are 1 game back of that final wild card spot behind St. Louis and Philly. And overall, the Giants still have something to fight for, and it's a rivalry game. Like, the Giants and Dodgers are rivals. The Dodgers and Padres are not rivals. Let's get that out of the way right there. So I expect the Giants to eventually come back with a sense of urgency, but I also expect the Dodgers to fight back and make sure that the Giants don't get their way, just because they can't be blowing five-run leads. No, it does not work like that. And they can't give up grand slams as well. That's a big fat no-no. So overall for the Dodgers, they're sitting pretty with a 5-game winning streak. Let's hope they can keep it up, or let's hope for their sake they can keep it up. Jumping over to the Padres. So the Padres, they didn't play a game yesterday. Their last series came against the Arizona Diamondbacks, which they took 2 out of 3 against. They beat the Diamondbacks last Friday 5-3, and then beat them again 4-3, and then lost to them on Sunday 3-1. Currently, the Padres are playing the Mets, and it's 0-0, top of the third, 2 men on with 1 out. So for the Padres, they're basically trying to chase the Dodgers. They're a whopping 10.5 games back of the Dodgers in the NL West standings. That's how distant the Padres are when it comes to the Dodgers. Speaking of the Giants and Padres, they're actually the Padres are 3 games ahead of the Giants, which is quite nice. So for San Diego, it's looking like they're going to be the wild card team. They're probably going to be one of 3 wild cards, as Atlanta. If Atlanta doesn't win the NL East, then they'll probably be the top wild cards. They'll be the top wild card. The Padres will definitely be the second wild card unless they have another fall from grace like they did last year. And then the third wild card could be up for grabs. You have Philly, that's still in contention. St. Louis, that's still in contention. And then those pesky San Francisco Giants. Now, if the Giants do make the playoffs and they somehow draw the Dodgers in the first round, that could be a little dicey just because rivalry games are just so tough to predict. And more importantly, the Giants obviously want revenge from what happened last year when the Giants unfortunately lost to the Dodgers in the divisional round. Either way, the Dodgers don't want to draw the Giants in round 1. But we're not talking about the Dodgers, we're talking about the Padres. So it's a 3-game series for the Padres as they've hit the road to New York to take on the Mets. Following that series, they will be hitting the road to the Motor City from New York as they'll be taking on the Detroit Tigers on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then they'll have a day off on Thursday, and then next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they have a 3-game series at home at Petco Park against the Minnesota Twins. So all the Padres can do is hope that they can gain some ground. Remember, this is a team that still has not seen Fernando Tatis Jr. play, which it's still surprising to see the Padres having the 4th best record in the National League entirely, which is quite nice. And I think San Diego deserves a lot of credit. I feel that the fact that they are clinging to that wild card spot, they have a good little grip on it. It's just all about if they could tighten that grip and eventually just lock up that final wild card spot. Because realistically, I don't see the Padres catching up to the Dodgers unless the Dodgers have a major cold streak and then the Padres just go on a major hot streak and Fernando Tatis Jr. finally makes his debut this season. So in order for the Padres to make the playoffs, they're probably going to be a wild card team. Again, as long as they don't have like a collapse like they did last year, they should be fine. Manny Machado has definitely led the charge, as he's definitely found his home in San Diego after not being fully comfortable with the Orioles and obviously getting ran out of town by the Dodgers. But it is great to see Manny Machado thriving in San Diego, and I think that Manny Machado is probably the MVP at the halfway point of the Padres season. Well, for the Padres' sake. Not the MVP of the league, he's the MVP for the Padres, the team MVP. Let's gotta get that out of the way. Or clarify it. So it's good to see Manny Machado thriving, and it's good to see the Padres are showing a sense of urgency. I feel they can be a dark horse team come playoff time. I feel that once they get to the big dance, then anything can happen. And then once anything can happen, then every other team better watch out. Just because they've got good personnel all around when it comes to pitching and hitting. And they'll even be better once Machado recovers from his injury and finally makes his debut, which is still unknown. So that is that for the Padres. Jumping over to the Angels, I pretty much talked about them already. They got swept by the Dodgers last week, and they are on the road against the Atlanta Braves, the World Series champion Atlanta Braves, and this is basically where the Angels' gauntlet is going to restart again. Well, they're basically coming near the end of the gauntlet, as they basically had a rough out. They've lost 9 in a row. As remember, they got swept by the Orioles a couple weeks ago, and they got swept by the Astros last week, and then you also got to remember that the Dodgers swept the Angels as well. So the Angels are back to having another long losing streak, and it's really killing me. Actually, they won 3 in a row? Wait, they won 3 in a row. Oh, they beat the Astros. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. The Angels did beat the Astros one time. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Astros, which I'm actually surprised the Angels were able to salvage a win against Houston, considering Houston has just been mowing everybody down when it comes to the American League, and especially the American League West. So, following the series against the Braves, it gets a little bit better for the Angels as they have a 3-game series on the road against the Kansas City Royals on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Then the Angels return to the Big A for a 4-game series against the Texas Rangers to close out the month of July. So, once again, the Angels, this is just another season where I just want the season to end so we can get Rendon back. Which, if that's the case, then so be it. That without Rendon, the Angels are just not the same team, and it really sucks. It's really frustrating and whatnot. So here's hoping the Angels can close out strong, and if they do, awesome. But if not, then it's just going to be another series where this is just not fun. And then also, not having Mike Trout doesn't make matters better, so I can only imagine what the Angels are going to do without Mike Trout in the lineup for this series against the Braves. I mean, if they're able to take at least 2 out of 3, then that's a confidence booster, but I can't really hold my breath on that just because it is what it is, and I can't, bash it, so yeah. So that is that for the Angels, as they are currently tied 0-0 going into the top of the second inning. And I don't expect too much from the Angels this season. I really think that, in the second half of the season, unless they go on a super hot winning streak, then I don't really expect too much from the Angels. I don't expect playoffs. Playoffs! So either way, all the Angels can do is try when it comes to playing in the Big A against Atlanta. All right, that's going to do it for the MLB portion of the show. Let's jump on into some WNBA action, as the Sparks, they're actually doing good. They have won 2 in a row, which is awesome sauce. So, the Sparks are finally starting to get it somewhat together, maybe? As this past Tuesday, they beat the Indiana Fever 86-79. They probably could have beaten the Fever by more, just because the Fever are debatably the worst team in the WNBA. And yes, John, I'm talking about the playoffs. And then The Sparks last night, they defeated the Atlanta Dream 85-78, which was a huge win just because that further separates them from the Dream when it comes to the entire WNBA standings, as the Sparks are actually that actually helped the Sparks jump to 6th in the WNBA standings, which is really good. And the more that they could get that big cushion in terms of playoff security, the better their chances are. Just because between the Sparks, the Dream, the Dallas Wings, the Phoenix Mercury, the Minnesota Lynx, and the New York Liberty, those teams still have a shot at the playoffs. Those teams are all sub 500, as only 3 games really separates the top team, which was the Sparks, all the way down to the ladder, which is the Liberty. So for the Sparks, they're really going to have to keep up their consistency, as their next matchup is going to be a tough one. They are on the road Saturday against the Las Vegas Aces. And then Thursday, they are still on the road as they head down to the Cactus State to take on the Phoenix Mercury. And they won't be back home until the end of the month of July, which is this Sunday, the 31st, against the Minnesota Lynx, which has huge playoff implications. I really think the Sparks can actually make the playoffs. They're actually getting better against the Las Vegas Aces. My problem is this. Can they actually put it together, and can they win on the road? That's still my concern for the Sparks. I don't think the Sparks have an answer for the Aces, just because the Aces are still one of the top teams in the WNBA. They're the second best team behind the Chicago Sky, which have clinched a playoff spot, which, bully for them, former Spark Candace Parker freaking gets a spot in the playoffs. I'm still bitter. Don't judge me. But back to the Sparks. So for the Sparks, they are going to need to run the table for the most part. I think playoffs are definitely doable, and the sooner they can lock up a playoff spot, the better. They don't have to wait until the last few weeks of the season to lock up a spot, and then every team is playing their guts out, and then they start dampering on the Sparks' playoff chances. But either way, the Sparks are back into the winning side of things, but it might be short-lived once they take on the Aces. If they can get past the Aces, then that's a big momentum booster going into next week, as they have 4 days off, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, before their next game against the Mercury. So I really think the Sparks can string some wins together, but only if they're able to win when it matters most and not have bad games. Sorry. So Nneka Ogwumike scored 20 points, and she was 9 of 11 from the field in the win over the Atlanta Dream, which was quite nice. The fact that the Sparks are getting great production from her is definitely good. Also, Ogwumike's sister, I imagine, Chinny, chipped in 15 points, which is also nice. And the Sparks got 8 points off the bench from Liz Cambridge, and Katie Lou Samuelson, as well as Brittany Sykes, added 12 points apiece. So, good to see their starting lineup is putting out a lot of production in terms of points. And then Jordan Canada chipped in 6 points and had 7 assists, which is nice as well. I feel Canada didn't have to score in order to be effective on the field, or not on the field, the court. And it was a great home win for the Sparks. It was a crucial one just because playoff hopes were definitely on the line. Well, not like hopes were on the line, but playoff implications were on the line. So there's that. But it is good to see the Sparks are doing good things in the WNBA as of late. But again, that the Aces matchup is going to be quite tough. But if they're able to get over that hump, then this could be something promising for them. So that's going to do it for the WNBA portion of the show. Let's jump on over to some NFL talk. So the Rams just got their Super Bowl rings, which is absolutely amazing. I loved seeing the Rams' Super Bowl rings. It was quite nice. I wish I could have seen it in person, but what can you do? So, yeah, the Rams' Super Bowl rings is quite the specimen. Really good. And there was a further in-depth look, which when you open the ring, then basically it's basically the inside of SoFi Stadium, which I find rather unique. And then obviously on the side of the ring it has the Super Bowl score, which it was 23-20, the Rams over the Bengals. And like I said, when you open the ring, then you will see the inside of SoFi Stadium. And then you will also see basically the field, which was the Bengals versus the Rams. And it had the Super Bowl 56 logos on it, as well as the NFL logo. So I really like these rings. And I really wonder if you can get replica rings. If you can get replica rings for a decent price, then I may get one. I know I'm a Chargers fan, but hey, I might get one for my brother as a Christmas present. Don't tell him. Anyway, so regardless, the Rams had their Super Bowl rings, and the season is getting really close. I want to say it's like 48 days until the Rams take on the Buffalo Bills, which, man, that's going to be a fun matchup. It is going to be really fun to see the Rams versus the Bills. Josh Allen versus Matt Stafford. And yes, it is 48 days until the Rams versus Bills. And that's going to be fireworks right there. John says, rings sound great. I would know as a Panthers fan. Aww. And no, you didn't, John. You did not tell my brother. Poor John and him being a Panthers fan. Hey, Chargers fan here as well. Diehard Chargers fan. Or true blue Chargers fan. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, especially for like Chargers fans to like see Big Brother win the Super Bowl, which, again, that is kind of my concern for the Chargers. Or it was kind of my heart. Well, no, there was the Chargers concern of the Rams winning the Super Bowl. My other concern would have been Joe Burrow getting a Super Bowl sooner than Justin Herbert, which, What can you do, though? Sorry. So, speaking of the Chargers, I actually was invited on a panel to discuss the AFC West with a Raiders fan. Don't worry, the Raiders fan didn't chew me up and spit me out. But I was on with my boy Jelani JB Bodie in the Wait a Minute show, and it was basically pre-recorded, and we basically talked about the the Chargers, Raiders, Broncos, and the Chiefs. And one of the questions that Jelani asked me was, in retrospect, what is something, I don't remember the exact question, but what was something that your team would like to do this season outside of winning the Super Bowl? Or what are you looking forward to, or what do you want from your team this year? And what I said was, I want the Chargers to make the playoffs, because once they get into the playoffs, then it's a whole different season. And the Chargers are 0-0, and everyone is 0-0, and look at what the Raiders almost did to the Bengals. They almost took down the Bengals, which makes me wonder, would the Raiders have gotten past the Titans? Would the Raiders have gotten past the Chiefs? Those are all questions that we'll never, ever, 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 ever find an answer to now anymore. But I really want to see the Chargers in the playoffs. Like, Justin Herbert is too talented to be missing the playoffs, and he has so much talent all around him. He has Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Jalen Guyton, Joshua Palmer. Pretty sure the Chargers probably got other wide receivers that Herbert's going to make look good. As long as Herbert doesn't have to throw to DJ Moore, then so be it. And then also the Chargers have Austin Eckler, and I really want to see how good Isaiah Spiller will be. I feel Isaiah Spiller will be legit this year. I know this for a fact, that Isaiah Spiller has only fumbled the ball three times in his entire career at Texas A&M, which he had over 2,000 carries, which speaks to high volumes. And I really hope Spiller can become the next best running back too. I mean, he has to be. The Chargers drafted him in round 3, I want to say. So he better be worth the Chargers' 3rd round pick. Otherwise, I'm going to be sad face. And then I also did hear that the Chargers might be thinking about extending Derwin James. But if Derwin James does not get an extension, which I want to see Derwin get an extension, I want to see Derwin James locked up so Derwin doesn't have the possibility of going down the Jason Verrett route, which don't remind me of that. But I'd like to see Derwin James a Charger for life, if not a Charger long term. So to that end, I just want to see the Chargers in the playoffs. Like, I want to see the Chargers in the playoffs. They are getting better when it comes to losing by 1 score. They actually only lost 5 games by 1 score, which is a drastic improvement from the past few years with Anthony Lynn and Mike McCoy. Granted, 2 of those games that they lost by 1 score were kind of lost causes. Like, it was basically just one last gasp, and those 2 games were the Vikings and the Patriots. The Patriots obviously have the great formula for the Chargers, just because Bill Belichick has his way with young quarterbacks. And then the Vikings, I don't know how Mike Zimmer does it, but he too always finds the winning formula against the Chargers. Like I mentioned in the past, last year when the Colts defeated the Vikings, it marked the first time that Philip Rivers defeated a Mike Zimmer coach team. So all it took was Philip Rivers getting out of the Chargers organization to finally beat Mike Zimmer after all the rough times that Rivers has had when facing the Vikings or any team coached with Mike Zimmer. But, yeah, those 2 games, the Patriots loss and the Vikings loss by 1 score, those were basically games that were already decided, and the Chargers just basically couldn't win those games. The only 1-score losses that were basically winnable were the Dallas Cowboys one, which they probably shouldn't have lost just because the refs made so many questionable calls. I hate blaming the refs, but there were some bad calls in that game, and it makes me wonder if Roger Goodell's fun time team is the Cowboys. And then the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday Night Football, that could have easily been avoided as a 1-score loss, if not a loss in general. The Chargers had so many opportunities. They went for it on 4th down. They didn't execute it well. And they just let Patrick Mahomes have his way, especially come the overtime period. So it's a bummer, but what can you do? And then the Chargers' last close loss was obviously Week 18 against the Raiders, and the person that I debated the Raider fan I debated with was a guy by the name of Jeff Fox. He has a show on the X Squad Affiliates channel called The Jeff Fox Show. He talks all things Miami sports. Definitely do check him out. So that Week 18 game against the Raiders, the Chargers actually came back from 12 points down. It was 15 points down. It was 15 points down, and they sent it to overtime, but unfortunately the Raiders got the ball back, and everyone still blames the timeout that Brandon Staley called. That was not the reason why the Chargers lost. The Chargers lost was because of their poor run defense. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. So stop blaming Brandon Staley for this. John says, I love blaming the refs. It's an American pastime. Yeah, I mean, yes, blame the refs and blame Roger Goodell and blame the NFL for being rigged, but at the end of the day, it all boils down to the players on the field. So, I too would love to blame the refs as well, but it's not going to change anything. So back to Raiders-Chargers. Jeff Fox did say the Chargers are basically like those giant cockroaches that you see in the hood. Not the little mini cockroaches, the giant cockroaches you would see in the hood, where you think you have them killed, but then they come back crawling and making their way to the human, as you need more than just raid to kill them. And I thought that was very complimentary, even though he kind of describes the Chargers as cockroaches, but cockroaches are resilient. Anyway, he said that the Chargers are resilient as heck, and I totally agree. I definitely think they have everything that they need. They have a much improved defense. Getting Khalil Mack as well as J.C. Jackson really helps. And then they also got a few other players. They got a corner from the Denver Broncos who's decent. Way better than Chris Harris Jr. We do not want him back. And then they also got Kyle Van Noy from the Patriots, who might be signing long-term from what I'm hearing, but it still is up in the air. And then the Chargers just recently signed someone else as well, as the Chargers just signed, hang on a minute, hang on. They signed Carlo Kemp, an outside linebacker. So he actually comes from the USFL, which, cool, I guess. I guess that's okay. I mean, it's not bad, honestly. I think that Carlo Kemp is decent. I'm not going to knock it, obviously. I think that he actually had workouts with the New England Patriots back in 2021, or last season. So, yeah. And Carlo Kemp was on the Pittsburgh Maulers, and apparently he was a standout. So, I guess that's okay. I was expecting the Chargers to sign an edge rusher, but I guess it's decent. I'm trying to look at this as best as I can without, basically being pessimistic about this. So, yeah. I feel the Chargers kind of did good with this. Who knows, though? I'm not going to really say that this is the last piece for their Super Bowl. And, yeah, he had 5 sacks for the Pittsburgh Maulers this past spring. And he went undrafted from Michigan. He signed with the Packers as a free agent, but didn't make the team. And he spent time with the Broncos practice squad, and then he moved on to the USFL. Why are people calling him a standout if he only had 5 sacks? Am I missing something? I'm trying to be as positive as I can. But I guess this is decent. So yeah. I'm just going to be as positive as I can, and if he does actually start for the Chargers, cool. But the Chargers also signed someone by the name of Tyler Yarberry last year, and we never saw hide nor hair of him. So, welcome to the team, Carlo Kemp. So, there is that right there for the Chargers, and let's actually close the book on the NFL. This week, Chargers rookies did show up for camp, and I think next week veterans show up for camp as well, which means we're getting closer and closer to season, and we're getting close to the Hall of Fame game, which does not pique my interest, nor I do not care about just because it has the Raiders in it. I'm kidding. But The Hall of Fame game means that we're getting closer to the NFL season, and I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait for it. So that is that for the NFL portion of the show. We're actually going to take ourselves a quick little breaky break. Then when we come back, we'll be discussing some MLS action. I've got some LA Galaxy to rip, and I've got some LAFC to praise. And then we'll be discussing some NWSL with the San Diego Wave FC tying Louisville. And then we have the Dum Dum of the Week award. So you were listening to a SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Lava.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. We are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
set, hit!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
That is right, everybody. 3 and Out is making its return as 8 divisions in 8 days is halfway done, as NFC week just concluded, as the NFC West went on this past Monday, NFC East went on this past Tuesday, NFC South went on this past Wednesday, and NFC North went on this past Thursday, or yesterday. So next week is AFC week, and AFC has the honor of being on Monday, which it's AFC Day is going to be on AFC West Day is going to be on Monday, and then I want to say it's going to be AFC East, then AFC South, and then AFC North to close out. So we're back with Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all the sports. Definitely do check out 3 and Out. It's a great football show that Larry B hosts, and it's going to have a different format. And also keep an eye out for 3 and Out College Edition. That's going to be electric as well, with me and my boy Larry B hosting that. It's going to be on every Saturday at 7 a.m. Pacific Time, 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. Pacific Time. So that's basically how 3 and Out College Edition is going to roll. But back to the SoCal sports action. Speaking of college football, we actually have some... What is it? The coaches poll, the preseason coaches poll when it comes to the Mountain West Conference. So there's only one team in Southern California that we all care about in terms of the Mountain West Conference, and that is San Diego State. So San Diego State was picked to finish second in the Mountain West Conference behind Fresno State. Now, I was very close to having this as Dumb of the Week, but I do need to remember that San Diego State did lose quite a bit to graduation, so I can't really complain all that much, but why does San Diego State have to be second banana to Fresno State? I think San Diego State can win the West Division. I know I'm being a homer here, but I definitely want to see San Diego State get back to winning the Mountain West Conference, especially after last year when they got smoked in the championship game where they got stomped on by Utah State. Oof. San Diego State had 20 players out with COVID. Yikes. So for San Diego State, I still think it's going to be a promising season for them. Anything short of them not making a bowl game should be considered a disappointment. But that's not going to happen. Like, San Diego State is too good to be finishing sub 500. So there is that right there for San Diego State. I don't think we have gotten the coaches poll for the Pac-12, but I imagine everyone's going to pick Utah to win the Pac-12 South, and then they're also going to pick Oregon to win the Pac-12 North, which is typical. That's because everyone thinks that Utah has mostly everything better, like better offensive line, better defense. You get that sort of thing. So that's my projection, but I'm still picking USC to win the Pac-12 South, and I don't really care who wins the Pac-12 North. I'll just say Oregon, just because they're kind of the closest thing to winning the Pac-12 North. Though Oregon State has kind of improved, but I'm not going to hold my breath to picking them. No offense, Oregon State fans. So there's that. So that's going to do it for the brief college football discussion. Jumping over to the ESPY Awards that happened last night in Los Angeles. So there is a qualm that I have to get off my chest. The Rams, unfortunately, did not win Best Team at the ESPYs. I am irked by that. First of all, I understand the Golden State Warriors won the NBA championship, and good for them. They get a little golf clap. But why does the Rams not get Best Team? It's like, do people really care more about the Warriors winning another championship? Like, they've won one last decade. They won like 3 or so in the last decade. Like, how is that considered Team of the Year? The Rams haven't won a Super Bowl since 2000, or was it 1999? Either way, I think it was 1999 before the decade started, and they don't get Team of the Year. Unbelievable. And obviously, and also, why everyone was jockeying the Matthew Stafford trade, and everyone was saying Matthew Stafford's never going to win a Super Bowl. He proved the entire world wrong. So I'm sickened to my stomach about seeing the ESPY Award not go to the Rams. I understand people love Steph Curry. Steph Curry was the host, and Klay Thompson was there, and Draymond Green was there. But the Warriors, do not deserve Team of the Year. The Rams do. I don't care if I'm being biased. I know I'm not a Rams fan. I'm more pro-Chargers. But the Rams deserved ESPY Award for Team of the Year. Y'all can fight me about it. I will be taking any sort of challengers. I will fight anybody about it. I really think Rams deserve Team of the Year. Fight me. And that's just my only qualm. I was going to say Trey Mancini should have been Comeback Player of the Year just because, even though he's on the Baltimore Orioles, I think he could have been Comeback Player of the Year just because the dude had cancer and he eventually came back to pitching for the Baltimore Orioles. But the Comeback Player of the Year went to Klay Thompson, which is kind of deserving. He had a torn Achilles and a torn ACL, and he missed, 2 full seasons of the NBA? And now he is back, and he was able to win a ring for the Warriors. But still, I don't approve of the ESPY Award going to the Golden State Warriors for Best Team. That award should have gone to the Rams. Stupid ratings and the stinking Golden State Warriors players for hosting. Next year we're getting Justin Herbert to host, and the Chargers will be Best Team, no matter if they win the Super Bowl or not. At least Cooper Kupp won the ESPY Award for Best NFL Player. The dude deserves it. And if you've seen Cooper Kupp's story, you know that it is well-deserved on Cooper Kupp's part. Okay, rant over. We can jump away from the ESPYs. The ESPY Awards has been something I have been passing on throughout most of the year, just because it's other than Dick Vitale's getting the Courage Award or any of those other amazing stories, the ESPY Awards just haven't peaked to my flavor as in past years. But it is what it is. Anyway, the rant's over about the ESPY Awards. Let's jump back into some other SoCal sports action. Let's jump on into some MLS action as both of the Southern California teams, LAFC and the LA Galaxy, are trending it in different directions. LAFC beat Nashville on the road this past Sunday 2-1, which was quite impressive as it was a huge win as Christian Arango and Jose Cifuentes came up big for LAFC. Even though Nashville was able to score a goal off of a penalty shot, LAFC came up big thanks to Cifuentes. That was all the way back in the 46th minute, 1 minute into the second half. So the fact that LAFC held their ground against Nashville for 44 plus minutes is quite impressive. LAFC also got to see the debut of Gareth Bale as he made his MLS debut. Notice how I said the word MLS, just because he's played internationally elsewhere, But this first game, when he checked in as a sub for Cifuentes, he made his official MLS debut. So LAFC is back at it tomorrow on the road against Sporting KC. This game won't be played at Arrowhead Stadium. It'll be played at Children's Mercy Park, which, it is what it is. But for LAFC, I would still be careful of Sporting KC, just because Sporting KC isn't one of the best teams. As a matter of fact, this is actually going to be the battle of the best team in the West versus the worst team in the West. But LAFC cannot underestimate Sporting KC, just because it's any given week when it comes to the MLS. I don't like comparing it to the NFL, but I think it's definitely true that LAFC could lose to anybody at any time, any place, anywhere. Like, for example, LAFC lost to, who was it, Vancouver? Before El Tráfico? Yes, it was Vancouver. So the fact that LAFC lost to Vancouver still makes me a little skeptical on them facing Sporting KC. Especially since Sporting KC could be a trap game for next Friday's game against the Seattle Sounders. That's it's not as big of a rivalry game as El Tráfico, but Seattle is obviously under the radar. They're playing much better soccer, so LAFC has to mind their P's and Q's. They have to cross their T's, dot their I's, make sure they take care of their opponent in front of them and not look ahead. I feel that might have been the case for LAFC when they played Vancouver, because following the Vancouver game, they had the LA Galaxy, and that Vancouver game could have easily been a trap game, just because it's basically on the road, and you're basically not trying to look ahead, but at the same time, you want to take down your rival after, they've beaten you twice, one of which was in the U.S. American Cup. But overall, for LAFC, they're still trending in the right direction. They are currently first in the Western Conference as they have 42 points. They are ahead of Austin, which is right on their coattails. Austin plays the New York Red Bulls on Sunday, and then they also play Sporting KC on Saturday. So for LAFC, in order to stay atop the Western Conference standings, they're going to need to win the games that they're supposed to win against. Starting on Saturday against Sporting KC, then they can see how they stack up against the Seattle Sounders. So overall, this could be LAFC still remaining at the top. This could be Austin overtaking them, or it could be both teams just locked horns with one another in terms of the same number of points. Their records are nearly identical as well, as both teams have 4 losses. LAFC has 13 wins, while Austin has 12 wins, and LAFC has 3 draws, and Austin has 5 draws. So for LAFC, they're just going to need to play consistent. If they play consistent, they're going to be a lock for the playoffs, and more importantly, that number 1 seed is going to be all theirs for the taking, and they'll get the first round bye. Because remember, 7 teams make the playoffs in each conference. It's not like the NBA where 8 teams make the NBA playoffs, but it's 7 teams when it comes to the MLS. Speaking of team number 7, the LA Galaxy are just heading in the wrong direction. They lost their 3rd straight game as they lost to Colorado on the road 2-0. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what's so wrong with losing to Colorado? Well, Colorado's kind of not the best team in the Western Conference. They actually are one of the worst teams in the Western Conference. They're the 3rd worst team ahead of San Jose, which the Galaxy lost to, and Sporting KC. So for the Galaxy, they've lost to 2 of the worst Western Conference opponents in the MLS Western Conference standings. And this kind of concerns me on if the LA Galaxy could, maybe miss the playoffs again. Just because Kobe Jones, I think I forget his name. Yeah, Kobe Jones, the former MLS player and who is a commentator for the MLS, he actually showed concern for the Galaxy, and he says they might actually miss the playoffs. And something that we all need to make note of is that the Galaxy really put up a goose egg last year in the second half of the season. Sorry, my mic was caught in something, but it's all good. So, yeah, the Galaxy really stunk it up in the second half of the season last year, and that seems to be their MO. They always do bad in the second half of the season, and last year was no exception. And keep in mind, last year, they were in the top 7 throughout the entire season, and then the final day of the season, they tie, and then they eventually find themselves at number 8, which is basically the outside looking in. So for the Galaxy, they really need to get it together ASAP. I'm starting to think that the Montreal win was kind of more so the Galaxy being better at home and Montreal just being crappy on the road, more so than the Galaxy actually being decent. I'm not trying to say the Eastern Conference is bad, but come on. How do you lose 4-0 on the road when you're one of the top teams in the East? Make it make sense. The good news is for the Galaxy is that they didn't spot the other team a 3-0 lead in the first half. The bad news is that they now can't score any goals, and once again, losing to Colorado does not sit well for them. John says, Charlotte FC is one of the pro sports teams making the Carolinas proud. Facts. And they actually are doing well, as Charlotte FC is 8th in the Eastern Conference, which is good. I mean, it's not great. They would be on the outside looking in, but hey, the entire Eastern Conference is a mess. Like, believe it or not, the Eastern Conference has only 4 teams with a positive goal differential. Everyone else has a negative goal differential, including Montreal, which is -1. Yes, I get it. First year, though. But, yeah, that's impressive. Charlotte FC, in their first year, is still making noise, and they're not too far off from Cincinnati, but we're not talking about Charlotte FC. No offense, John, but Charlotte is definitely making the MLS proud, as them being the expansion team is doing really well, and they are knocking on that playoff door. But going back to the LA Galaxy, the Galaxy they head back home to take on Atlanta on Sunday. So I was told that Atlanta's coach left for the Premier League. I'm not sure. But the Galaxy still need to win this game regardless, just because the next game is going to be against Dallas, and if they don't have that win under their belt, it's going to be much more tough sledding for the Galaxy. And Atlanta, they're 11th in the Eastern Conference. If the Galaxy can't win this one, I don't know if there's any hope. I'm starting to get the feeling that LAFC broke the Galaxy in El Tráfico. I really think that the LA Galaxy just have not been the same. I get it, they almost made a comeback against San Jose, but you shouldn't be down 3-0 like you were against Minnesota. You shouldn't lose to the third worst team in your conference. It's just making it tough. All these losses are just making it tougher for the Galaxy, and the Galaxy should be super lucky that they are ahead of Portland in the Western Conference standings. The Galaxy are actually 7th in the West, ahead of Portland by 1 full game. Sorry about that. And also I should make note that the Galaxy have played 1 less game than Portland. But the Galaxy and Portland each have 27 points, and it's really tight between the Galaxy and Portland. It could go either way between those two. Both those teams are not too far behind from Dallas and Nashville, which Nashville has 30 points, Dallas has 29. And believe it or not, the closest team to Austin and LAFC is Real Salt Lake, who has 33 points. But I digress on that. Back to the Galaxy. yeah, they should be very fortunate they're still top 7 despite this 3-game losing skid. They have to snap the skid ASAP. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Just because despite Portland not winning their most recent game against Vancouver, they at least tied. And then they have San Jose as well, so they could gain some ground in the Western Conference as well. They actually haven't lost a match in their 5 past matches, so yeah, the Galaxy, you gotta fix this. Please. Otherwise, your win over Montreal is going to look very fraudulent. So, following the Atlanta match, the Galaxy hit the road to Dallas to take on Dallas on Saturday or next Saturday. So, the good news is for the Galaxy is that Dallas has not won a match in their past 5 matches, which is good. The bad news is they just tied Austin, which was not bad. So, there is that one little point that Dallas gets, and they play Real Salt Lake this Saturday at Real Salt Lake. So, for the Galaxy, they need to do their part in making sure they're able to get their points when it truly matters, just because you can't lose to Atlanta. Please don't lose to Atlanta. It's bad enough you lost to San Jose. It's bad enough you lost to the Rapids. You can't lose to Atlanta. Just please don't. Otherwise, I've got another ripping with your name on it next week. I'm going to be lenient this time, but if you just so happen to lose to Atlanta, you're getting ripped next week, Galaxy. You hear me? Probably not, but whatever. Alright, that's going to do it for the MLS portion of the show before I lose my marbles. So, let's jump on over to some NWSL action. We don't have much to talk about just because everyone is on break. In terms of like international break, as the one, the only Alex Morgan is doing it big for what's their face, the U.S. national team. But while she is out, San Diego Wave FC did not have her in their matchup against Louisville, and as a result, they played to a scoreless draw against Louisville, which, well, that was not fun, as they could have used Alex Morgan just because Louisville was one of the worst teams in the NWSL. That's the bad news. The good news is for Wave FC is that they're still atop of the NWSL standings. However, they are only up by 1 point over Portland. It still kind of concerns me just because Portland is starting to play, like I said, Portland's playing better soccer right now. And that's my biggest concern. Their goal differential is a whopping 19. Wow. And I want to say Portland's last loss was all the way back in May when they lost to Houston. So Portland has not lost a match in over 2 months. That is crazy right there. Because the next time we see Portland play, it won't be till next Friday when they play at Louisville. Or, to say it correctly, Racing Louisville FC. So, I'm not overly concerned for San Diego. Once they get Alex Morgan back from the U.S. national team, they should be back to being strong again. But I don't want to say that San Diego is out of the woods. They still have a big matchup next Saturday against Chicago, which the Red Stars are going to be very tough. And that could, hence the word could, be the deciding factor on who could be the top spot in the NWSL and who could be second or third. Just because Wave is up 2 points on the Red Stars in the NWSL standings. And like I said, right behind them is Portland, which they should have lost that one game, but due to VAR, they didn't. I'm still mad about that. Wave FC should have won. Fix this, NWSL. Anyway, so Wave FC plays Chicago next Saturday. That's going to be a great game, and more importantly, it's on the road. Angel City FC did not have a match. They don't play until next Saturday when they are back at the Bank of California Stadium. Just when I thought I was getting the name right off the top of my head, I forget it. Angel City FC is back at the Bank of California Stadium when they play OL Reign. So OL Reign has kind of been that under the radar team. They're kind of pulling out wins left and right, even though they just lost to KC. Regardless, OL Reign should be a difficult match, and that's a huge match for Angel City, just because OL Reign and Angel City are both tied for that final spot in the NWSL with 17 points. If Angel City wants to win that match, they're going to have to play with a sense of urgency. Again, no Kristen Harper, which was one of the top players in the NWSL / in the nation. So if Angel City wants to win, they're going to have to show that same urgency that they had against Wave. If they do so, then Angel City can do whatever they want. After that game, they will only have 10 matches remaining, which it just goes to show that the season is flying by really quickly. And for Wave, they only have 8 matches following their matchup against Chicago. So Wave has 9 matches to basically lock up a top 2 spot, which will give them a semifinal bye. And if they do get that bye, then awesome. But if not, then their path to the playoffs is going to be a lot longer and tougher. I still think they can make the playoffs in their first year, as well as Angel City. I think that Angel City's path is a little bit more tougher, just because they don't have their top player, Kristen Harper. But it's definitely doable. Once they get into the big dance, then anything can happen. Everyone's 0-0, and then basically it's going to be the matter of who puts the ball into the net first and who plays the better defense. I'm no soccer expert. I'm not Andrew Hagenbaugh, which definitely do check out the Soccer Scoreboard show. But I'm here to say that I stand for Wave FC and Angel City FC. It sounds crazy, but honestly, I'd like to see one, if not both of those teams make the playoffs. And I would also like to see Wave FC become San Diego's first team to bring home a championship to good old sunny San Diego. Stay classy. So that is going to do it for the NWSL portion of the show. Before we head on out, we have to give out the Dum Dum of the Week award. So the Dum Dum of the Week award goes out to people or a group or an organization that does dumb things. It could be my neighbor. It could be my neighbor's dog. It could be myself, who forgot to apply sunscreen a couple weekends ago. Anyone can get Dum Dum of the Week award. No one is safe from the Dum Dum of the Week award. I have a mini Dum Dum of the Week award. I actually have 2 Dum Dum of the Week awards that I like to give out. The first Dum Dum of the Week award goes out to some random person that was basically shouting in my neighborhood. So, as I mentioned, I was basically about to go do a recording with Jelani JB Bodie and Jeff Fox regarding the AFC West. And then, as we were getting started, I was hearing some shouting noises from one man, and I didn't understand what he was saying, and I'm glad that I didn't hear what he had to say, because I don't know what he was mad at. I was just minding my own business, and then I heard some shouting, and then I don't know what he was shouting about, but he was so loud that even my neighbors were coming out of their houses to hear what the heck is going on, and I was just so confused, man. So, for the random person in my neighborhood that was shouting and disturbing the peace about something, you are the mini Dum Dum of the Week award, and I hope I don't have to hear your voice again. I hope no one has to hear your voice, and hopefully I don't record it, otherwise, heaven forbid, you'll be back on Dum Dum of the Week award. So that is that for the mini Dum Dum of the Week award. Let's jump on into the main Dum Dum of the Week awards. So I actually have 2 to give out, and basically I'm lumping 2 into 1, just because, well, I kind of have to get this off my chest. So, first and foremost, for those of you that don't know, I am a guy who will not beef on Twitter when it comes to other people's fan bases. I will not go to, Chiefs Twitter or Broncos Twitter or Raiders Twitter or, heaven forbid, Patriots Twitter and say Chargers are going to be better than y'all or any of that sort. I'm not going to basically just run my mouth, especially since Chargers fans don't really have the right to run their mouth. They haven't won a Super Bowl. However, this kind of came up on my timeline this past Sunday. So as I was enjoying my Sunday off, I was basically seeing something that I thought was dying down. So my good friend Phil Jones, who used to be a part of iSports Radio, he has a show called The Unfiltered Truth. And every year he releases his top quarterback list. He has a quarterback list which basically it's his opinion and he can do whatever he wants with it. So for his list, he actually gave lots of praise to Matthew Stafford. He actually has him 4th on his quarterback list, which that's pretty good. He has him ahead of Tom Brady, which I think is 6th, and then Aaron Rodgers, which was 5th, which as a Rams supporter, as a Rams stan, I think that is awesome. I think I'm happy that Phil Jones, a Raiders fan, is giving praise to a Rams fan, which is really, really awesome. And yeah, I think it's really, really cool that he was able to give lots of praise to Matthew Stafford of the Rams. And that's impressive. I think he was behind Joe Burrow, who was number 3, and then Josh Allen, who was number 2, and then he has Patrick Mahomes at number 1. So yeah, here's his list. Matthew Stafford was indeed number 4, Joe Burrow was number 3, Josh Allen number 2, and then Patrick Mahomes number 1. I'm a little surprised he put Tom Brady behind Aaron Rodgers, but what can you do? So as for Justin Herbert, he has Justin Herbert at number 12 in terms of the top. He actually has 36 quarterbacks on this list, just because there are quarterback battles. But Phil Jones put Justin Herbert at number 12 in terms of his quarterback list, right behind Derek Carr, who is number 11. So I didn't want to say anything. I didn't say, hey man, Justin Herbert is not number 12. He is a top 10 quarterback. However, he made some valid points. He said that Justin Herbert had a lot of weapons and he wasn't able to make the playoffs, and despite the numbers, he wasn't able to just take that next step and put the Chargers into the postseason. And I kind of understand that. I'm not going to knock Phil just because it is his list. I'm not going to bash another person's opinion. I basically just told him, I'm just here for the comments, and then I basically told him, I respect your list, and I'm not going to say anything about it. So you're all probably thinking, well, is Phil the dum-dum of the week? No. No, everyone that was a Chargers fan did not agree with Justin Herbert being number 12. Now, I don't know where Chargers fans actually found this list or how they were following Phil Jones. I think I'm the only Chargers fan that follows Phil Jones. But let's just say Chargers fans were not happy that Phil Jones put Justin Herbert at number 12. Now, at least he had him top 15. I think last year Jones put Herbert at like 17 behind Kirk Cousins, and I was sickened by that. I had to let him know. I was like, why do you have Herbert behind Kirk Cousins? And he's like, if he does well with his tools, such as Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, all that, then I'll give him a little bit higher. So all the Chargers fans that were on Twitter basically let Phil Jones have it. And it was so bad that some Chargers fans made a Derek Carr piñata, and they basically posted it on Instagram. And, yeah. Okay, let's pump the brakes here. First of all, why are we bashing Derek Carr? I kind of like Derek Carr. I felt horrible for him when he had that ankle injury back in 2016. He was not really the same quarterback. And he's been through a lot. Like, the fact that his brother is David Carr, and how David kind of says some things, and he blocks random people on Twitter, it's tough. It's like my brother, except he doesn't have a big reputation. But Chargers fans, why are you buying piñatas of Derek Carr and flipping them off and posting it on Instagram and whatnot? Like, why are you even making Derek Carr piñatas? It's like, huzzah. So, you want to know who really got mad at that? I wasn't the only one that got mad at that. And John Felipe says, Derek Carr is a legit great guy. Facts. I think he's a great guy as well. The man does not get his flowers. So, you want to know who really took that to heart, and who really took that seriously, was not Phil Jones, but the entire Raider Nation. Apparently, Raider Nation did not approve of Chargers fans making a Derek Carr piñata and doing all that sort of thing. So, what I didn't like from Raider Nation was that, I get it, Raider Nation is passionate and they're awesome. I mean, I don't hang out with them, but they travel well. However, what I didn't like was that I didn't like how Chargers fans some of the Chargers fans that I knew, and some of the Raiders Twitter was like making fun of like the Donald Parham injury when he suffered that concussion in the Kansas City Chiefs game. I did not like that one bit, and I just didn't like how Raider Nation was just beefing with the Chargers fans. It's like it was getting too personal that I just didn't want to be on Twitter. It's like, why am I looking at this? It's like, it really is sad that friendly banter had to go all the way to the point where basically people were taking personal shots at one another. And not just the Donald Parham thing. It was basically just other people just doing other things. It really is sad. And the Dum Dum of the Week award goes out to Raiders Twitter and Chargers Twitter. Let's all be better. Like, this is why I don't get involved in these whole Twitter beefs. I used to back in the day, but I'm not going to just because it's Twitter. There's nothing to argue about. And life is too short to be arguing on Twitter and just being stressed out. At the end of the day, let's all just enjoy football without making Derek Carr piñatas or making fun of injured players that could have possibly had life-threatening injuries, but let's all just be nice. So I'm not even going to play the whole "you are so dumb, you are really dumb for real" clip. I'm just going to say Raiders Twitter and Chargers Twitter, please do better. This is why I don't like being involved in conflict, and this kind of makes me wish I was a Rams fan, but I'm not going to jump on that Ram wagon. Not yet, at least. So, for all the Twitter beef that was happening with Chargers Twitter and Raiders Twitter, you are this week's Dum Dum of the Week award. Now jumping over to Dum Dum of the Week award number 2. So, everyone and their mothers have their opinions on Madden ratings. So, Madden ratings are basically a thing right now. The Madden ratings were just released all over the entire interweb. Basically, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, defensive backs, edge rushers, you name it. So, I want to say today they released the quarterback ratings, and obviously they had Justin Herbert as a top 10 quarterback, unlike Phil Jones. I'm just kidding. By the way, there's no beef with, like, Phil Jones is my boy. Like, I respect Phil Jones in the unfiltered truth. Like, I think I want to say I might be the only Chargers fan that Phil Jones likes, but that's a stretch. But back to the Madden ratings. So, Justin Herbert was indeed a top 10 quarterback when it came to the Madden ratings. However, Justin Herbert's Madden rating is, can we get a drum roll, please? I know that was a little faint in the background, but it is what it is. So, Justin Herbert's Madden rating is a whopping, spanking, great score of 88. Okay, I'm not one to really care for Madden ratings just because I don't play Madden. Yeah, go ahead and shoot me. I'm a bad boy. I don't play Madden. But 88. Justin Herbert is not an 88. He's at least 90. And every Chargers player and every Chargers fan or stan voiced their opinion and said that Justin Herbert is a lot higher than 88. I couldn't believe it as well. It's like, why? Justin Herbert had 5,000 plus passing yards. I get some of those passing yards were in garbage time, but he still had some good passing yards. He broke quite a bit of rookie records. He was the offensive rookie of the year, and more importantly, he was second in passing yards behind one Thomas Brady. And like I said, Justin Herbert came oh so close to leading the Chargers to the playoffs. Unfortunately, the Chargers lost to the Houston Texans, which didn't do him any favors because he was having to throw to frickin' David Moore. And then, unfortunately, the Chargers' run defense couldn't do them any favors against the Raiders. But we're still giving Justin Herbert 88 as his rating in Madden. This is why I don't play Madden. I will not get heavily invested in that, but I need to voice this. Madden, you have to change Justin Herbert's rating to at least 90. 90 at least. I can't believe you have him at 88. I don't even know the entire Madden ratings when it comes to quarterbacks. I'm actually going to look that up right now, but oh my goodness, it's like, it's pretty sickening if you ask me. Justin Herbert is 88, while Dak Prescott is 89, Joe Burrow is 90, Josh Allen is 92, Patrick Mahomes is 95, Aaron Rodgers is 96, and then Tom Brady is 97. I'm surprised that, Matthew Stafford isn't higher, which, it's rather, if you ask me, but it is what it is. But I just couldn't believe it. Like, okay, Matthew Stafford was top 10. He actually was number 10 at 85. I'm actually looking at this right now. Someone actually made a parody top 10 quarterbacks overall, and someone put Tua with a rating of 1,000. Get out of here. Tua is not better than Justin Herbert. Let's get that out of the way. But, Madden, I'm sick to my stomach after looking at how y'all gave Justin Herbert an 88 behind Dak Prescott. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Dak Prescott, but Herbert I think is better. I mean, switch the two teams' divisions, and Herbert easily breezes into the playoffs past the NFC East teams. But, going back to this, Madden, I'm disappointed that you had Justin Herbert as an 88. Either fix his Madden rating, or you suffer this Dum Dum of the Week award. And they chose the Dum Dum of the Week award. So, for Madden, who gave my boy Justin Herbert a whopping 88 instead of a 90, despite having almost 10,000 passing yards in his first 2 years as quarterback, and despite smashing every rookie record for the most part as a quarterback, you are this week's Dum Dum of the Week award, number 2, Madden. Take this Dum Dum of the Week. Wait. What are you saying? What are you saying, my guy? Let me turn you up. Let me turn you up. Talk to the people real quick.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And that, my friends, is all she wrote. This is why I don't play Madden. I'm not going to get heavily involved in that, but honestly, do better, Madden. Give Justin Herbert 90. Something that was actually very funny was that Justin Herbert actually said, "I think that's being generous," which I got to give a round of applause for Justin Herbert for that, just because that's very classy of him to say that sort of thing. I'm glad he was able to just say that instead of saying that's too low. So that just goes to show Justin Herbert's maturity, unlike everyone else that's saying Herbert deserves to be at least 90 or he's way higher than 88. But hats off to Justin Herbert for taking it like a man. But on that note, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I'm glad to have another show in the books as John Felipe closes out the show with this comment. He says, Justin Herbert is such a sweet man, LOL. I agree. So, without any further delay, let's get on out of here, because I gotta get me some supper. You dig? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I appreciate everyone that tuned in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen on any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Big shout out to the chat room. My boy John Felipe, who's listening for most of the show, and on all the show. He says, great show, brother. I appreciate you. Definitely check out Carolina Cast every Friday, 1 hour before the SoCal Supreme Sports Show goes live. Also, shout out to Mike Pat for listening when in the MLB portion. And also, shout out to Patty Bax if she was listening. She also tuned in at 7 point this past Monday. And I didn't give her a shout out, but big shout out to Patty Bax for listening. I appreciate you. For everyone here at Ice Cream, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. You'll have yourself a great rest of the weekend. Remember, sunburn season is still here. Apply your sunscreen. And if you're already sunburned, apply your aloe vera. I will be back Monday for Set Point. It's going to be an electric show as we get closer and closer to the NBA playoffs. Have yourselves a great weekend. Stay safe. Don't get in any trouble. More importantly, just be a kind person. Whether it's on Twitter or whether it's in live, let's just be a kind person. Otherwise, you can find you. Until then, have a great night. Remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!